He was the son of a cleaning lady, overlooked, dismissed, and treated as if he didn't belong. To the world, he was invisible. But the moment he opened his mouth, everything changed. A room full of wealthy elites laughed at him, mocking his background, certain he had nothing to offer. Yet, in just a few words, he silenced their arrogance and shattered their prejudice. What could a boy society ignored possibly reveal that left a millionaire stunned and the crowd speechless? This isn't just a story about one child, it's a reminder of a truth too many choose to ignore. For most of his childhood, Malik lived in the shadows of wealth he could never touch. His mother worked as a cleaning lady in one of the wealthiest districts of the city, scrubbing floors and polishing glass walls that reflected lives far removed from their own. Malik spent his days quietly waiting for her, reading borrowed books in service corridors, and teaching himself from whatever scraps of knowledge he could find. To many, he was just the maid's son, destined to stay invisible, unnoticed, and underestimated, but Malik was different. He had a hunger to learn, an ear that caught the rhythms of words and accents, and a memory that held on to them like treasure. Languages became his escape, his secret world, while those around him dismissed him as nothing more than a poor boy clinging to false hope. Still, Malik never complained. He carried his silence like armor, watching the glittering world of the wealthy, where people like him were expected to serve but never shine. Yet beneath that quiet exterior, he carried something extraordinary, something that would soon break through the prejudice stacked against him. On a night that seemed like any other, he found himself standing before people who thought they already knew his worth. What they didn't know was that the boy they mocked carried a gift powerful enough to shake their certainty and force them to see. What they had long ignored. The grand hall glittered under chandeliers, polished marble floors reflecting the shimmer of gowns and the polished shoes of men who thought themselves untouchable. Malik stood at the edge, his mother fussing with trays and glasses while the wealthy guests drifted past her as if she were invisible. He felt the weight of every stare, the unspoken judgment that a maid's son didn't belong among men worth millions. When one of the Arab millionaires noticed him lingering, the smirk spread quickly. "What's he doing here?" the man's voice carried, drawing laughter from those nearby. "Don't tell me the help brings their children to the ball now." The crowd chuckled, their amusement rising as eyes locked on Malik like he was entertainment, not a person. Malik lowered his gaze, heart pounding, but he didn't move. He had learned that silence often kept trouble away. Still, the laughter burned deeper than he wanted to admit. One of the men raised a glass, nearing. "Come on, boy, say something. Can you even speak?" The hall erupted again. Malik's mother rushed forward, her hands trembling as she whispered for him to go back to the kitchen, to disappear before things got worse. But something inside him resisted. All his life, he had swallowed words, buried talents, hidden gifts that made him different. And here, in this moment, the ridicule pressed too sharply against years of silence. He lifted his head. "I can speak," he said softly. The words drew another round of laughter, mocking and cruel. But then Malik continued, switching his tone, flowing effortlessly into French, then Spanish, then Mandarin. The room hushed, confusion flickering across the guests' faces. Before they could process, he shifted again, Arabic rolling off his tongue with precision and confidence, each word echoing across the marble hall. The laughter died. Eyes widened. The same mouths that ridiculed him moments ago now gaped in stunned silence. Yet, beneath that silence, tension still boiled. The millionaire who first mocked him clenched his jaw, unwilling to let a boy of low birth claim even a moment of victory. His voice cut through the stunned air. Parlor tricks, nothing more. The words were sharp, designed to restore his power, to remind everyone that wealth outranked talent. Malik's chest tightened. He had made them. Listen, but had he really changed anything? Or would the weight of prejudice smother him again, no matter how brightly his light burned? The night was far from over. The silence in the hall should have felt like victory, but it didn't. Malik stood in the center of the room, the echoes of 9 languages still hanging in the air. For a brief moment, he thought he had broken through, that his gift had forced them to see him as more than the maid's son. But the millionaire's voice sliced through the stillness like a blade. Tricks, he scoffed, his tone dripping with disdain. A parrot can mimic sounds. That doesn't make him equal to us. His words were sharper than laughter, crueler than mockery. They carried the weight of every door slammed in Malik's face every time his mother was treated as less than human. The crowd shifted uneasily, torn between awe and the safety of siding with power. Some looked away, pretending not to see. Others smirked, eager to erase the boy's brilliance with one man's scorn. Malik's mother clutched his hand, whispering for him to stop, to bow his head before they punished him for daring to stand tall. But Malik couldn't, not anymore. His voice shook as he spoke again, this time not with practiced fluency, but with raw truth. You laugh because you think money makes you better. But what you fear is knowing you can't buy what I carry inside me. Gasps rippled across the hall. The millionaire's face hardened, red with anger at being challenged by someone he believed beneath him. For a heartbeat, Malik thought the man might strike him, that the room might erupt against him. In that charged silence, with fear and pride colliding in his chest, Malik realized this was no longer about a party or even about him. It was about every person who had ever been silenced, every voice crushed under arrogance and prejudice. And what he chose to do next would decide whether this moment faded into memory or burned into history. The hall never fully recovered from Malik's words. Some lowered their eyes, unable to meet his gaze. Others whispered, shaken by the courage of a boy they had written off before he even spoke. The millionaire, red with fury, turned away, unwilling to admit that the child he mocked had just exposed the emptiness of his arrogance. For Malik and his mother, the moment was bittersweet. They left the glittering ballroom with no applause, no grand celebration, yet something far greater had been won: dignity. In a world that had tried to strip them of worth, Malik had carved out space for his voice, proving that brilliance cannot be hidden by poverty, and that strength cannot be silenced by prejudice. But this story isn't just about one boy. It's about every unseen worker scrubbing floors in silence. Every child judged not by their ability, but by their skin, their name, or their circumstance. It's about a world where racism and classism still dictate who is mocked, who is praised, and who is allowed to belong. Malik's defiance was more than an act of courage. It was a reminder that the walls built by wealth and hate can be shaken, not with anger alone, but with undeniable truth. And yet, for every Malik who dares to stand, countless others remain silenced. Their stories untold to odd, so the question lingers: how many voices must rise before the world finally listens? How many more children must prove themselves over and over? Again, just to be seen as equal, because Malik's story may have ended in one ballroom, but the fight against prejudice is still unfolding everywhere. And it's up to us whether we stay silent or choose to listen, share, and stand.